Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're preparing for ISACA CISA examination but still you're not choosing the right answer even after studying well, you're not alone. Many of the aspirants fail not just because they don't know the concept, but they don't understand how ISACA expects them to think. So in this video, I'll explain it the right way, how to attempt the questions, what are the common mistakes a candidate will do during the examination so that you can avoid them during your examination. Let's get started. So first we will understand what is the CISA exam pattern, how to prepare for examination in a structured manner, and what ISACA really expects from the CISA aspirants. Next, we will see what are the various materials that you need to use it for your preparation so that you will not waste time in some unnecessary resources. Then, next, we will understand what is the mindset of ISACA, how you need to understand the question and choose the right answer in the examination. And finally, I will also highlight what are the common mistakes that are done by the CISA aspirants so that you can avoid them and improve your chances of getting the examination cleared. Let's get started first with understanding the CISA exam pattern. So this is very important for a CISA aspirant because as I mentioned in the previous video, it is not a subjective based examination. It is a objective based testing. So this is where many of the aspirants go wrong in the examination. So first, before you start off with your preparations, read about the first few pages of the CISA review manual, which I'll cover in the upcoming slide, which will give you as a fair idea as to how the examination is tested by ISACA. So the questions will be completely scenario based. You will not find a direct theoretical oriented question. So every question is framed around the real life scenarios, real life situations that an IS auditor would be facing during the course of an audit. So ISACA is testing your judgment as an auditor, how as an auditor you are taking decisions, not just your ability to just understand the concept and reciprocate the same in the examination. So in every question, the focus is on what an auditor will be doing in a specific scenario, not just as to what the management requires them to do. Now, what ISACA really tests here? So, primarily, your understanding should be revolving around the governance topic, how the risk is managed, how the controls are implemented effectively in the organization. So, primarily, you need to identify the issues. You, meaning as an IS auditor, how you will identify the issues, how you will be assessing the impact out of it, and as an auditor, what is the best recommendation that you would suggest to the organization from an auditor's perspective. So ISACA always expects you to be familiar with what are the standards, what are the best practices that are expected from the auditor, what are the various frameworks that are available so that you can apply them logically in the situation that is given. So always remember, CISA is just not knowing about the knowledge, knowing about the concept. You need to think from an auditor perspective and give a best judgment based on the scenario that is given. Okay. So now let's talk about the study resources because using the right material makes a huge difference in your exam preparation. Don't look into many materials, many authors. So here using of material is to gain the confidence in the examination and gain more conceptual understanding so that you can reciprocate the same in the exam scenario. So first coming to the primary or must use resources for the examination. First one is on the ISACA CISA review manual. We call it as CRM. So which is having a core book, will explain you the concepts and more from a ISACA language. What is expected from the examination. So many exam questions are based on how ISACA frames the risk control or the governance perspective. and as many aspirants ask me, whether is there any substitute for this ISACA material? No. This book is completely non-negotiable. You need to refer this material during the course of your examination. You can use the supportive resources as I have mentioned, but however, it is not at par for the ISACA CISA review manual. Next is on practicing the mock question. As I always mention, it is not just on using the conceptual understanding alone. You need to practice a lot of mock questions as well so that you gain the confidence to go and write the examination. So this ISACA question answer explanation database, which is the 13th edition, will give you a fair understanding as to how the real exam questions will be. I repeat, it is only the mock questions that is published by ISACA. It is not the actual exam questions that have appeared in the past. So you will understand while you practice the questions, you just don't look for the right option alone. You as well see the justification for the other four options as well as to why the other option was wrong. That is very important for any aspirant while preparing for the examination, because you need to understand the concept at its fullest, not just on clicking on the right option. Now, coming to the secondary supportive resources, let it be during your training or you go for a self study, so take the notes that you have prepared during your preparation, which is very crucial, especially when you are new to an IT audit. You have to have some mind maps, short summaries, which are useful for a last minute revision. Even as part of my LinkedIn profile, I have released the CISA revision manual, so you can refer to that LinkedIn page as well, where it is around a 100 page document for a 11th hour revision. So, but this should never replace your ISACA material. All these mind maps are for the last minute revision a day before an examination perspective. But to have a complete clarity, you need to refer to the ISACA material. Let's talk about the mock question practice. Practice scenario based questions regularly. So, as I told, the primary source is on the ISACA QA database, which is available domain wise. So, after you complete each domain, totally we have 5 domains for CISA. Once you complete your preparation for one of the domain, you can start practicing the question. Each of the domain will fairly have 150 plus question, which will help you to test your conceptual understanding. After each question, focus on the reasoning behind each of the correct option. So not just on the final answer. Okay, you have answered it C as right. So whether you have picked up the right answer is only 50% of the story. You as well need to understand why A, B, and D are wrong. So then that's where your learning is complete. So this is how you build the ISACA exam mindset. So use your mock scores to identify the weak areas and revise on those areas from the review manual. And key exam tip to remember: clearing examination depends on ISACA material plus consistent practice on your mock test. There is no shortcut to it. You cannot just land into the examination. It requires a lot of rigorous preparation as well. If you follow this approach, your confidence and accuracy will improve significantly. So, one step at a time, start from the basic preparation, having a conceptual clarity, then practice mock questions, and you will be there. Once you start following the shortcuts, you might be successful based on the luck, but it will not help you in the long run. So now on to the ISACA mindset and the decision logic. Now let's discuss how or what mindset as a CISA aspirant you need to have, because most of the candidates either gain or lose marks by looking or reading the question in a improper manner. First, read the question fully. Don't just jump into the answers. So understand exactly what is being asked in each of the question. What is, whether it is an auditor's role or it is audit objective or looking for a priority of action. So look for the question. What is the scenario? So normally every question will have at least 2 or 3 sentences, built-in story or scenario to enable you to understand the situation and ask you to take a decision. That's why you normally see people saying this common phrase when someone is preparing for ISACA CISA examination. You need to think like an auditor to answer the question. So that's where exactly you wear the hat as an auditor. It's like someone is questioning you to take a decision on a scenario and you are expected to answer. So you're given 150 scenarios in the examination to answer accordingly. So identify and read the question as to what is the expectation. Most important one is on identifying the keyword. So Isaka often uses the word most likely, best, next step, first step, primary requirement, what the auditor should recommend. All these are the keywords that decide you to answer, so never ignore them, because based on the keywords your options might differ. Sometimes they will ask you what is the immediate step, what is the action. Yeah, sometimes they will ask for best recommendation, so don't ignore those keywords. Then what is your auditor's role? Yeah, ask yourself, if you are an auditor and you are asked to assess and evaluate or recommend, what as an auditor you will do. So they don't implement any solutions, you give the best recommendation. The auditor is always a third party as to a consultant giving the right recommendation, not going to implement something in the organization, right? Next, after that, apply the control or the logic. ISACA generally prefers over the preventive control first rather than detective or a corrective control. So look for if there is an option related to a preventive control which takes a higher priority compared to others. Next, most important point is on elimination of the options. So, as you read the question, it is not that three options will be wrong and one is the right answer. All the four options are equally right, but because of the keyword, the other options are eliminated. The other options, which are incorrect options, is not completely wrong. They will also be relating to the correct answer, but just because of the scenario, they are wrong. So, look for keep eliminating the wrong answers, because whether it is management focused or it is a corrective measure, this will usually bring down to the two options. Then based on your knowledge that you have gained during your preparation, you need to eliminate and find the right option based on it. Finally, the best option will be the remaining option. Select the option that aligns with ISACA standards or objectives. What is the risk based thinking you have? Not just what feels practically fine or practically easiest. So, you need to learn before you start learning. Unlearn whatever you have learned in your organization, align your mindset with ISACA, and choose the best answer. So, if you follow this logic consistently for each of the question, your accuracy in the CISA questions will improve. So practice this during your mock test preparation. Initially, it will be little time consuming, but at a later part, you will appreciate the efforts. Now, moving to the common mistakes that are done by the CISA aspirants, um, and how to avoid them in the examination. First, let's discuss what as a CISA aspirant you are supposed to do. Always think like an auditor, not to implement something. That too, when you are into an IT role or a GRC role, normally your mind thinks as to what you can implement in the organization. No, it in that case, you are writing a CISA examination, so you need to align or think like an auditor, not as a implementer. So your role is to assess, evaluate, not to fix any error or system. Next, as I told, read the question carefully, watch for the keywords in the option. So these words completely change the right answer. Always focus from an auditor perspective on the GRC, governance, risk and compliance or controls. And this is the heart of the CISA examination. Next one is on managing the time. Predominantly, managing time should not be a tougher one. So, fairly, you have around 1 minute per question, and you can mark the right answer and then move on. And CISA examination is not adaptive testing. You can at any point in time come back to the previous question and revisit your question. 1 minute is fair enough time to do all your steps in reading the question, identifying the keyword, elimination approach, then finalizing. 1 minute is a fair enough time for each of the question. If possible, prefer to take the examination at the test center, as it usually have fewer distractions compared to a home environment. So now what you should not do in the examination. As I told, don't just jump into the technical fixes that as an implementer you are supposed to do. You are supposed to think as an auditor. You're not going to fix anything. ISACA rarely expects you to fix an issue. Don't overthink on a particular question and keep changing the options. Once you have marked the option, move away from the question. You can revisit that again when you revise all the options. So your first logical choice is often the right one. Don't overthink on a question. Don't panic at any point in time in the examination if the question is very unfamiliar, you are not able to understand the question. That's okay. You can anyways gain your or marks in the upcoming questions. Obviously, you have other questions as well, and each domain is not having going to be a score of 450. It is a scale score entirely from domain 1 to 5. So don't look at the result when you attempt the examination. You are given as an auditor 150 questions. You are going to respond back to the organization. Take it in such a manner. Stay always positive throughout the examination. Use ISACA logic and keep eliminating the wrong answers. Don't spend too much of a time on a single question. Yeah, if you keep on looking into a question, all the four options will look right. Avoid taking the examination in a disturbed environment. And as a final tip, have a calm mind, have a strong ISACA logic, have a good timely discipline. This is the formula for CISA success. It is not going to turn around in a day's time. It will have its own time. If you give that time and consistently prepared and you focus on and trust your preparation, you will definitely do well. So have that logic in mind and start your preparation. Thank you for watching. If you find this video useful, please do share it and subscribe and share it with other CISA aspirants as well. Follow me for more CISA exam strategies, domain-wise guidance, and practice tips. In the upcoming videos, I will revise most of mock questions related to each domain. All the best for your CISA examination. I'll see you in the next video.